Hello, America, and thank you for tuning in to Channel 5 News, and we are very eager to tell you about what's going on today in our world. Let's start off with... Really? Wait, we are getting breaking news from an unknown source. America, we have just got word that our government is lying to us. We were told that atoms and matter and chemical bonds do not exist, but from what our source just told us, they are. Today our message will be get you the truth about atoms and not feed you the lies that we were once told. Apparently, matter consists of chemical elements in pure form and in combinations called compounds, you said? Okay. You, me, and everything else on this earth is full of this stuff called matter. And seeing as though matter is anything that takes up space and mass, apparently it is everything. Archaeologists have found information that states that ancient Greek philosophers believed that a lot of different varieties of matter came from our four basic elements: water, air, fire, and earth. They saw these elements as pure substances that could not be decomposed to other forms of matter. These mad scientists were even had a backup plan that helped enforce this original idea by saying that the other elements were formed by blending two elements together. These ideas do seem rather extravagant, but they make a little bit of sense. So what really is an element, you ask? Well, an element is a substance that cannot be broken down to other substances by chemical reactions. There are 92 recognized elements such as sodium, chlorine, and carbon, and these elements are given a symbol to abbreviate their names. When two elements combine with a fixed ratio, they form a compound. There are about 25 of the 92 elements that are known to be essential to life, and only 4 of these 25 essential elements, which are carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen, make up about 96% of living matter. This is quite shocking. Some elements can only be required by an organism in small quantities, which make them trace elements. For example, in vertebrates, the element iodine is important for a hormone in the thyroid gland. And iodine is a trace element because only 0.15 milligrams, which is a tiny amount, are needed for the normal activity in the human thyroid. Atomic structure helps influence the behavior of an element, and atoms, which are the smallest unit of matter that still retains the properties of an element, make up matter. So remember when I said that the atom is the smallest unit having the properties of elements? Well, actually, there's tiny bits of matter that are made up of even smaller parts called subatomic particles. Physicists have split the atom into more than 100 types of particles, but only 3 kinds of particles are stable enough to be of relevance, and they are the on-the-house neutrons, meaning they have no charge. The positively great protons and the negative Nancy electrons. We like to joke here at Channel 5. These neutrons and protons are packed together tightly to form a dense core, which is called the atomic nucleus. Remember those weird numbers above the element symbols on your periodic tables? Well, those are mass numbers that tell you how many neutrons are in an element. Elements have different atomic forms that are called the isotopes of the element. Some isotopes of the element can be unstable and radioactive, which makes that particular isotope a radioactive isotope, which means the nucleus decays spontaneously, giving off the particles and energy. Atoms vary in the amount of energy they possess. Energy is defined as the ability to do work, and potential energy is the energy that matter stores because of its position or location. This is a great source, guys. We're getting a lot of good information. Potential energy has different states of potential energy for electrons in an atom, which are called energy levels, also known as electron shells. Not macaroni shells, electron shells. These shells are three-dimensional spaces where electrons are found 90% of the time and are called orbitals. These electrons on the outer orbitals are called valence electrons, and the outermost electron shell is called the valence shell. Atoms transfer and share valence electrons through an interaction called chemical bonds. These bonds have different strengths and different ways of bonding. Covalent bonds are the sharing of valence electrons by 2 atoms. 2 or more atoms held together by covalent bonds constitute a molecule. For example, after the hydrogen atoms bond together, they form a molecule. To abbreviate the structure of this hydrogen molecule, we can use the structural formula, which we would force us to make an H and put a line through it and another H. And the line will represent the hydrogen or the covalent bond. Also, we can abbreviate this even more by writing H subscript 2, which is called the molecular formula, which indicates that the molecule consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen. With 6 electrons in the second electron shell, oxygen needs 2 more electrons to complete its valence shell. and two oxygen atoms form a molecule by sharing two pairs of valence electrons. The atoms are thus joined by what is called a double covalent bond. When bonds form, they give the atom a full complement of valence electrons. This bonding capacity is called the atom's valence and it equals the number of four outermost valence shells. The valence of hydrogen is 1, the valence of oxygen is 2, and the valence of nitrogen is 3, and finally the valence of carbon is 4. The attraction of an atom for the electrons of a covalent bond is called the electronegativity. The more electronegative an atom, the more strongly it pulls shared electrons towards itself. When electrons are shared equally, when it has a nonpolar covalent bond, electrons are not shared equally. In such cases, the bond is called a polar covalent bond. A charged atom or molecule is called an ion. When the charge is positive, the ion is specifically called a cation. When the charge is negative, the ion is now called an anion. Because of their opposite charges, cations and anions attract each other in what is called an ionic bond, which is when two ions of opposite charges form an ionic bond. A hydrogen bond is the third and last bond that we have just found out. I wonder how long the government has known this without telling us. When a hydrogen atom is covalently bonded to one electronegative atom in living cells, the electronegative partners involved are usually oxygen or nitrogen. Van der Waals interactions are weak and only occur when atoms and molecules are very close together. The making and breaking of chemical bonds leading to changes in the composition of matter are called chemical reactions. Arrows are used to indicate the conversion of starting materials, called reactants, into products. The coefficients indicate the number of molecules involved. The point at which the reactions offset one another exactly is called the chemical equilibrium. This has been an exciting day at Channel 5 News, and we are so happy to tell you the truth and finally stop the lies that have been told to us. Please tune in later on at 5 to learn about